That's it. Good afternoon. Jesus eats brekkie on the beach. That was my coding, but the message is actually Jesus eats breakfast because he loves fellowshipping. And last week we were looking at Revelation 1, and we're going to look at Revelation 3:20 at the end. But here we have a picture of Jesus, lovely picture I found on the internet this morning. So we have Jesus eating with people, and especially to move on from, now let me just recap. Last week we saw the testimony of Jesus Christ. So all things that he saw, just as John speaking, Revelation 1, blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written in it. For the time is near. The time is near, folks. Also, grace to you and peace from him who was and who is to come, who is and who was and who is to come. Jesus loved eating, as I said, with his disciples, and he had their Last Supper, if you recall. But here we have, he's now risen from the dead, and we have in John 21. Later, Jesus appeared again to the disciples beside the Sea of Galilee. This is how it happened. They wanted to go fishing. Bottom line, Peter said, I'm going fishing. Now they said they're going as well. Now, they had fished all night, and Jesus was standing on the shore, and he called them, friends, have you caught any fish? No, they replied. Then he said, throw your nets on the right side of the boat, and you have plenty of fish. Then he said, throw out your nets. Okay, we got that. Plenty of fish. So they did, and they couldn't draw in the net because there were so many fish in it. In fact, it's about 153 fish. And so Peter jumped into the boat, and you can go and read that in John chapter 21 or on Facebook. So others stayed in the boat and pulled the loaded net to shore. Simon Peter went flying off into, as I said, and Jesus. Now, what happened was, here we have them sitting here. Bring some fish you've just caught, Jesus said. Because, let me just read this from verse 8, I think it's important. Verse 9, when they got there, they saw that a charcoal fire was burning and fish were frying on it, over it, and there was bread. So Jesus had prepared this already. Jesus then asked them to bring some more fish, and then Jesus served them bread and fish. This was the third time Jesus had appeared to his disciples since he had been raised from the dead. Now, after breakfast, Jesus challenges Peter. If you continue in verse 15, we find 3 times Jesus says to Peter, do you love me, Peter? And he says, yes. And Peter gets a little upset at the end because Jesus asked him 3 times. But remember, Jesus denied, what's his name? Peter denied Jesus 3 times just before he was crucified. Here he's linking this, and he's saying, are you sure you love me? If you do, feed my sheep, feed my lambs. You can see it there. And then he ends up and he says, follow me. because they're still discussing what's going to happen, and Jesus explained to him, it's not in my text today, that he was going to have not an easy time into the future, where he died, etc. Anyway, Jesus still wants ongoing fellowship, feeding us the bread of life, spiritual food and wine, representing his body and blood with the church today. But you see, it does it on an individual basis too. There is the corporate issue, or corporates getting together at the church. However, the church is wherever we are, and we need a fellowship with him, and like sit before him now. And he says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in, and we will share a meal as friends." The New Living Translation. Amen.